In case you didn't know, times are hard, not just for you, but for almost everyone. The economy is in the gutter, jobs are scarce. So, even though it's obviously the government's jobs to sort this out, which by the way, they don't seem that bothered, I feel like we can take some initiative on an individual level and see what we can do to improve our financial situation. Obviously, the only way you can improve the financial situation is by having money, unfortunately. And how do you do that? Either you make more money, which is what I personally recommend, or you spend less money. It's not that I don't recommend this, but usually, realistically, people are spending on the things they need, unless, of course, you're already wealthy, in which case you don't need this advice. But people, yeah, and you cannot cut out certain things. Also, I don't recommend cutting out things that bring you joy. However, there's a caveat there. Sometimes things stop bringing you joy or any purpose or utility, in which case I encourage people to cut them out. And that is the list that I'm going to make today. Number one is going to be reformer Pilates. Before, logically, if you look at someone doing reformer Pilates and someone doing mat Pilates, there is something instinctively in your brain that makes you think that the person doing reformer is just doing much more than the person on the mat, because they're literally on the mat, which is like a little baby bed. But it's actually the contrary, in my opinion, because a reformer is helping you get rhythm of the movement. Mat Pilates actually, I feel, is more intense. But I have to be honest, I don't do exercise because of how difficult it is. So that's even besides the point. But Reformer Pilates, a pop, that's if you buy in a package, by the way, will cost you maybe around 21, 22 pounds. And realistically, why should one single workout, which is not like targeted, because there are certain workouts that are maybe a bit advanced. I'm not even sure. I can't think of an example. Maybe yeah, if I do, but something that is super targeted that maybe you're going to do once every 3 months. For example, if you're trying to get your core strong, maybe if you have a knee injury, it makes sense why you'd spend some money on one single class. But just a generic class, it's not cardio. Don't get me wrong, it's still great. What I mean is that it does not serve a special purpose from somewhere else to justify that price. And I have to be honest, I think there was a trendy element to it. I'm fit, so I didn't jump onto the trend, but it just felt like there had to be a benefit that I was not seeing as someone who was not doing it, and it's not there. I do my Pilates and I enjoy it. Pilates by Easy, Move with Nicole, both amazing, both great. I get more of a burn and intensity from their videos than I actually do great to a reformer class. Also, when I'm in a reformer class, if you've done reformer, do you ever just feel like the springs, getting your feet in and all that? Like you spend 10% of the class doing that, trying to figure out the thing. And personally, it makes me lose momentum when I'm exercising. Also, is it giving BDSM vibes? Perfect. Anyway, number two is cheap makeup. Now, this sounds contrarian, but I've done the math. So I use the Giorgio Armani foundation, which I have right here actually. This one. As you can see from the packaging, it's pretty better than, and that's because I've used it for over 2 years. So I bought it for around £43, but let's round off and say it's £50 for 2 years. So that's £25 per year. And then as I was recommending it to people because it's wow, that foundation to me is magic in a bottle. Like the best foundation ever. All the people whose makeup I admire, it's what they use, and they also use it on runways a lot. And Pat McGrath apparently was on that team. I'll verify that in case it's not true. Was on the team that developed it, and she's an absolute genius. While I was recommending because I was like, yes, it's expensive, but it's a complexion product, so yes, it is worth like the money. And then I was recommending someone. I was like, so how much do you spend on your foundation, just to calculate the math? And they were like, my foundation is £10, and I use about 4. There you go. So in a year, she spends £40 on foundation. And if she just got the good one that I'm recommending, it could probably last her 2 years. And then I actually realized expensive makeup is expensive for a reason. So that's just one point on the point of it lasting longer. And then I went to buy blush. Blush is the one thing I don't think is worth spending some money on. And then I get to the shop and I'm starting to test out the different blushes on my hand. And then I get all the NYX, ELF, cheap one. And I'm swatching. I'm like, okay, pretty. I just need to find the one that is less powdery. But I couldn't get that, especially as a dark skinned woman. And then after that, I'm like, okay, I'll just go try the expensive one since testing there was free. So this NARS one that I got is actually £34. Yeah. And I realized not only was it better in quality than just from a swatch on the hand, it lasts forever. My point being that expensive makeup is expensive for a reason, and you might be getting duped with cheap makeup like ELF and NYX, thinking you're saving money when in fact you're not. I feel like I've experimented enough to know and it is definitely that way. I was using the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray, which lasted me about a year, the medium size. There's the baby one travel, then the next one is what I was using, which lasted me about a year. So I got this and I liked it. I worked with this brand on a video. I got this and I liked it and I was like, oh, okay, so I don't think I need to buy the Charlotte Tilbury anymore because it's, what is it, like £22? So I'll just either get this or find an affordable version of the Charlotte Tilbury. What do you know? I've had this for not even 6 months. I had the Charlotte Tilbury for a year and I only threw it out because it got a smell, which is obviously not ideal, but after a year, really, realistically, the bottle has worked its due. See my point? And this is almost finished. Yeah. So right now, the products that I still skimp out on, no, lip gloss, I always get the fancy one because I don't like the crackling on the lips, but I'm still skimping out on primer because like today I'm not wearing primer, can you tell? I hope not, but I personally do not see the point, but if you do, then you do that. But primer, and then that might be it actually. I think it's just primer where I'm skipping on. But all the other things I've upgraded and I don't regret it. And I've done the actual math, so I'm not speaking in theory. It's actually much better to get the expensive stuff as opposed to the cheap stuff. And I don't think I have to explain why expensive brushes are better, the application is better, and they're just going to last longer. Yeah. So I feel like I should touch on skincare. This is one I've not sorted out yet, but I'm mid-range because I've not done research to see if the expensive one is that much worth it. And I feel like I would have to speak to a dermatologist about this, but I just have this theory that expensive things exist for a reason, especially with these things that need to be repurchased. The people who buy them the first time, that you can use the excuse that they've been duped. But what about the second, the third, the fourth? It means they saw something in them. So I'm still mid-range with skincare, and I'm figuring that out when I was so done. Perfume, I'm not a perfume person, so I'm still mid-range. I use the Way range because they have shower, hair, and so I feel like I like to have a cohesive smell that is like clean and crisp, like I just step out of a bubble bath, which is the best. Number 3 is takeout. Now, I feel like I have to admit a little bit that I already was not doing this because I love to cook, but besides that, when I'm hungry, the reason why I would choose not to cook to get food is because the ready food is available. But when you order food, it's still going to take 45 minutes to come. So I'm like, I might as well cook in those 45 minutes. That's my logic. And I recognize that some people just hate cooking, so that's what it's about. But seriously, there is no situation, and like, the reason you're ordering takeout is that you are doing something that's going to give you a much better financial return. I don't see any logical reason for ordering food. Like, you have a kitchen and you have food and you have time. This does not obviously apply to people with kids or people getting PhDs, but if you're living a normal, regular, life, like me, an average Joe, you should be able to cook. Like, ordering takeout, even once a week, I honestly feel like that's too much. It is too expensive. The food comes cold. It's been smushed by the person riding it on the bike. It does not make sense. And the whole point, I feel like, of eating out personally is the social element of it. So when that's gone, and I know I'm not the only one because I'm not talk about the guilt they feel after buying takeout. So I'm definitely not tripping, because if you feel that guilt, it's because deep down you know what you're doing is, I mean, I don't want to say unacceptable, but also not acceptable. So between unacceptable and acceptable. Number 4 is actually a bit of a shock, but that's shopping on Vinted for things that need to fit. When you're shopping on Vinted, obviously you can't return because it's protected by consumer protection, which also makes sense because the clothes are like 3, 4, or 5 pounds. But I also had to spend a little bit more on Vinted to get better quality clothes. But I've got a notification for Vinted, however. Anyway, but I started to realize that if I had a budget of £100 maybe to buy trousers, I would get the first pair on Vinted, it doesn't fit, then the next and it doesn't fit, then I find that fits perfect, I'm like, oh yes, I save money. But in reality, I had to buy 3 trousers to get that one. The trick, this is especially true for jeans, because at least with trousers, it's easy to hem them and cut them, but that's only if they're bigger, because they can be smaller. Yeah. So the trick is now I only buy things that don't need to fit from Vinted. Obviously jumpers, coats, guys, I really don't think anyone needs to be buying coats brand new. You can get amazing even designer coats on Vinted or Depop or the Real for such great prices, and older coats are actually higher quality than newer coats. So what is the point? To buy like a £300 coat from Kohl's, you could take that £300 and get a nice Dolce & Gabbana or Zimbabwe coats for like 100, and from 20 years ago, which are in amazing quality, and they already stood the test of time. Unless you're going to take your coat to the mines, if the coat has lasted 20 years and it's still in good condition, there is a high chance that it's going to last 20 years, unless, I don't know, the air quality changes or something, which I guess in the current reality is not that out of the question. So I touched on skincare in regards of quality, but one thing I did not touch on is having so many products, such a long routine. I don't know how we don't realize this, but the way I fell into this, because I get a lot of free skincare products because I make content for brands. I was like, I'm going to do this step and do this step and do this step. Until you realize that what can these things possibly be doing for my skin, right? Just because I had them for free, I would never spend money to buy things like that. But even now that I have them for free, toner, serum, moisturizer, SPF. That's all, unless I have a specific concern like a spot or hyperpigmentation or any of those things. Of course, I cleanse as well before that step. But you start to realize that yes, it's good to take care of your skin, but there is no reason why anyone needs to apply 7 steps of skincare, unless, of course, you have a skin condition and you've spoken to a dermatologist about that. But if your skin is normal, the health of your skin starts from within, so take care of that. And then once you've taken care of that, you can come out and then you have your simple 3 to 5 step skincare routine. Realistically, that's all anyone should need. I'm not a dermatologist, but logically, why would you need a vitamin C serum and a vitamin E, especially with these things that can be eaten? Eat your vitamin C. Just one orange gives you enough vitamin C to last you through the day. And of course, the topical one can play another purpose, but you're not going to get all your vitamin C from putting it on the skin. In fact, eating it will give you a much better payoff than applying it to your skin, since your body expects it through your mouth. Next thing I'm not spending my money on is fast fashion. I've already done this and it's been amazing for my spending habits. I was never an impulse buyer, but then I would see something cute and then I would say, okay, for my next holiday, I'm going to get that. I got to a point where 2 years later, I would ask myself, oh, where is that vest that I bought from Zara? Oh, God forbid, shit. It was literally never to be found. I didn't even throw it out. Obviously, I must have got to a point where I'm like, this looks so bad, and I just got rid of it. But it wasn't even intentional that I got rid of these clothes. They just get rid of themselves. Now, I want to use some nuance and say that if you see a cute top at Zara, it's bedazzled, it's for the beach, it's something maybe you're only going to wear on holiday. First of all, think about, do you really need that if you're only going to wear it 3 times a year? But if you find it, if you really love it and you're in a good place to get it, I'm not judging, you can still go ahead and do that. My point is, that's fine to get that. But if, for example, you're buying your white t-shirt that's going to take you through spring and summer, getting that $20 white t-shirt from Zara, unless you get lucky, of course, is not a great decision. It is not a good decision. You're going to wash that thing at least once a week and it's going to fall apart. Have you heard of the joke where people call Zara satin and shirts, is it disposable or single use? Because they genuinely are, they fall apart so fast. So you're wasting £20 and then maybe buying another next year or at the end of spring to get one for summer. And what good is that when you could just take money for 3 of those shirts and go to Ralph Lauren or Court? Honestly, is a much better option, though it's still fast fashion, don't get me wrong. But buying a shirt from Shein is giving away money at this point. A trick that I use is, if you're smaller size, maybe size from 6 or 4, UK 4 to 10, is to shop in the boys section for the higher end brands like Ralph Lauren. So the boys, I even wear kids, like actual kids, like 7, 8-year-old shirts, but they are 15, 16. Those are still going to be cheaper, especially to 13 when they're still actual kids before they grow. They're going to be considerably cheaper, but you get a much, much better quality for the same price point where you buy it for a grown-up from Zara. This is obviously best for shirts, as the lower body is not really going to fit, especially if you're like me. But if it does, why the hell not? You still go ahead and do that. Yeah, a vest of a boy doesn't look different from the vest of a girl. Just be careful of the chest area because they obviously don't really have boobs. So you might want to make sure you're only buying things that are loose fitting to give room for the boobs and maybe a bit of the shoulders as well. But things definitely that you should, I would not even compromise on this, not get from fast fashion. Coats, shoes. Do you know how precious your feet are? Once you bang up your feet, you're gonna get a foot transplant. Like, I feel like you're much better off banging up your kid. Maybe I should have touched it that far. But take care of your feet, because you stand on them all day. They take care of you so much that they deserve a pair of shoes that comes from a reputable shoe company. I would go as far as saying you should get your daily shoes. Of course, for special occasion, that's fine. But your daily shoes, you should buy from shoes that specialize, from companies that specialize in shoes. For me, that's New Balance. I'm not even buying Nike anymore. That's New Balance. For tennis, I'm going to do a bit more research just from, maybe it's just that their shoes are not cute. That's why I don't like them, but they're amazing for fit. I'm losing the name, but I'll have it on here. Apparently, it's really popular with nurses. I've had On is not great, which is surprised me a lot because the shoes are amazing. I really love them, but you can't get these as fashion shoes that you could really run in or wear all day. Yeah, like they're much better than getting shoes from the home. And if you buy things like boots, opt for brands like Sam Edelman or Tony Bianco, which are going to cost you like maybe 200-ish pounds, or you can get them rented for 100 pounds. But they're shoes made by shoemakers, which means they understand fit, they know fit, and you can find so many reviews everywhere of people talking about their shoes, so you can understand the product better. And also recommend going to the store to try them on. This has turned into a rant on how to shop better, but I just wanted to show you that some things you cannot get at a 30-pound price tag. Hell, something you can't even get at a 75-pound price tag. A good pair of boots, brand new, is going to cost you upwards of 200 pounds. But once you do it, you're not going to regret it, hopefully. Next thing I'm not spending on is holiday clothes. I don't know what has gotten us confused into thinking that we are famous people who need new clothes for every trip, but that is not okay. I'm starting to build a holiday capsule wardrobe, and I'm not talking about these like generic capsule wardrobes, so if that's what you like, that's also okay. But just one that thinks about the things I normally do on holiday. So I know my structure of a holiday is usually over normal day when I'm in a warm place. I haven't yet done winter trips, but when that time comes, I'll also build it. But I know my day starts, obviously, I need pajamas. I already have pajamas in the morning. Then I wear some form of linen during the day. So I'm going to invest in some amazing linen. Linen shirt, linen trousers, linen shorts, and maybe cute linen tops. Yeah. Then in the evening, I come back home and change into something for the night. So I'm really lucky that I love Rotenbor's designs, and they have, I wouldn't say it's diverse, but they have, I feel like, a range of clothes of different styles that can carry you through a holiday. So I'm going to stock up on a few of their clothes, like maybe 5 pieces. I already got this one, which looks amazing, I feel like. Yeah, I already got that one, so maybe I'll plan and get, I have my eye on this one and this one. So these will be my looks for when I'm on holiday. I'm talking about summer holiday. And then once I have this foundation, every year maybe I can give myself an allowance to get one. So just to clarify, Rotenbor is about 100 to 250 price range, but I really get them on vintage for about 70 to 120 pounds. Yes. So once I have this foundation, every holiday I can give myself some allowance. I can maybe pick up a new bikini, maybe pick up a new dress. Instead of having a holiday, I'm not going here, I'm going and shopping a whole clothes for a holiday. I've never really done that, but I have to be honest, when I didn't do this, I'd be like, oh, I should have bought this little piece that I saw on Instagram. It would have been perfect. I should have bought this, would have been perfect for that. Which is ridiculous, beyond ridiculous, not to mention incredibly wasteful. I've had people buy clothes where they come back and put them straight from vintage, which I guess is better than keeping them at home and them wasting away. But come on, even if you are selling them on vintage, there is no reason a normal, regular, paying citizen would need a new closet for a holiday. And people will make fun of the closet costume more than a holiday. Would you much prefer to sleep in a much better hotel, to do more activities, go to a high-end restaurant, than to buy cheap clothes that are going to fall apart the first time you put them in the wash, right? Because the experience stays in your head forever. And don't get me wrong, I love a cute pic when I'm on holiday, as you can see from my Instagram. But then also, let's not get carried away in a lifestyle that is meant for people who are famous, who are getting seen all the time when being photographed all day, all night, and all seasons, for something that we need to implement in our lives. I feel like the worst of the worst on my list is this, and that's TikTok Shop. I wonder, after I stopped buying things from TikTok, I truly wonder what I was thinking. Maybe the influencers were getting to me, but I have to be honest, I really looked at myself and thought, Bridget, what kind of products were you expecting from TikTok Shop? I bought a spatula, which I'm throwing out. First of all, why would I buy plastic cookware? I bought a sports bra, which, if I show it to you, looks fine in pictures, but in reality, if you touch me, it's so tight and it squeezes and flattens my boobs, but it's really cute. If you're going to do sports and your boobs are going to be jumping around in your face and all over, you're not looking for a cute bra, you're looking for a supportive bra, high quality bra. So all that for what? What else did I get on there? Maybe I tried to buy some makeup brushes, maybe they didn't even come. I didn't get a refund, but still, what was I thinking? A tripod, which was also hideous and terrible, that ended up being a waste of money. And now I'm using a much better tripod I got on Amazon. So what was all that for? I know, unless a brand has a TikTok shop and you're buying directly from a brand, obviously if the brand is shipping, then you can be sure you're getting the right product. One time I even almost bought the Rode lippies on there. As I'm like, wait, why would they be £2 here? That's why I was saying in my previous video, I just filmed it so it's on my mind, that my brain was departing from my skull, because why was I going to do that? But luckily I have a rule that I never buy cosmetics from retailers unless of course they're reputable like Sephora, so that's why I didn't get it. But even Amazon, I don't buy cosmetics from there because you never know, the fulfillment might get from a box that is not from a brand, which you end up using a counterfeit and you wouldn't know, which is absolutely crazy. But anyway, to hell with TikTok Shop. I'll never do it. They keep on even encouraging me to sell things on there unless I'm working with a brand directly. I would not sell you a £1 bra unless £3 shorts and lie to you that is going to last you, going to do anything for you. Finally, the one other thing I'm not buying is cheap homeware. So I have a system where if I'm buying something cheap from a pretty place, I'm allowed to buy it once cheap, then upgrade later. So I was checking that. If you look at my duvet here, I got it off of Amazon. I don't remember the price, but definitely it was not in a reasonable price. It was cheap, which now I want to buy the proper one because when I sleep in it, I'm not comfortable. Not to sure that pillows give me acne. Right now, my skin is looking great because I don't sleep on those pillows. I have 5 pillows on there. I sleep on the 2 which are 100% cotton. And then I start to realize that homeware is not like shoes. If you wear shoes for a year, they won't be beaten up and you're going to need new ones. Your duvet, I did stain it with some ink, which is why I actually need to replace it urgently, and that's the other reason why I need to. But it lasts much longer. So if I stick myself with cheap cookware, for example, I am going to have that cookware for the next maybe 5 years. I already bought stainless steel, even though I bought it from IKEA. That's because I read under stainless steel enthusiasts online were like the IKEA ones are just fine. Besides, the more expensive ones were way too expensive then, and I wasn't sure if I was going to love stainless steel. So in that case, it made sense. But now I'm actually saving and I'm working on getting better beddings, a duvet that I can actually enjoy and love. And if that costs me money, that's okay. Good things cost money because they cost effort and resources to make, and I'm comfortable with that, especially in the bed where I spend a third of my life, maybe even more, because honestly after I wake up I stay in there rolling about until the last possible minute. Yeah, things like curtains, things like just tiny things like the laundry basket I have is falling apart. Every time I throw something in there it gets a seizure, which is ridiculous. My office wear luckily is from my company, so that's great. But my blanket, my couch blanket, that was given to me, but I thought, oh, okay, it's not that bad, it's just a blanket, just need to cover my feet. And it feels like covering yourself with a plastic bag because it's, I think, polyester. So I need to invest and get like a proper wool cashmere blanket that befits of queen. But yeah, anyway, that's my logic. Homeware lasts so long for me to waste my buying things that are not great under the guise of, oh, I'll get something better when I can afford it, when in fact I can take my time and just get one by one thing instead of trying to get them all at once. Yeah, anyway, this was the video. I'd say my spending habits are not that bad, which is why this video is pretty short, but I will have another next day and we'll see how I will have done at the end. Subscribe to the channel, which is about intentional living, just living a more smarter, intentional life, and I'll see you next time.